good, y'all? It's your boy Montre. And listen, many of you know me for many different reasons. We done been co-workers, we've danced together, you've seen me choreograph, drag, music, you name it. But I think it's important I tell my story. I think a lot of people look at me and it's like, where did he come from? This perfect package. But my story is one of resilience, struggle, determination, perseverance, and just pure passion. And I hope that this story inspires you to follow your dreams. So, here we go. So, where does it all begin? If you did not know, I am from Toledo, Ohio, also known as the Glass City, the Midwest. I'm the oldest of five, two brothers and two sisters, raised by my grandmother. And my grandmother actually adopted all of us. And so, to make it easier for her, she would put us into different activities, and one of those things was the YMCA. She enrolled us in the YMCA, and this was such a big thing in my life as a child. Those are some of my best memories as a child. They put us in so many different activities, field trips, just different ways for us to express ourselves and learn different things, different crafts, different, being exposed to different different types of people. My counselors, I had some of the best counselors. Like, who I was now, they remind me of that when I was young. Like, I looked up to them, they were cool, they were fly. And I think that was so important as a child, being exposed to that and getting my juices flowing creatively. And ever since I was young, I've always loved art and entertainment, music, like anything under that umbrella. I was always drawn to it. So, at a young age, I was already loving, watching reality shows like Making the Band, and like any competition shows, American Idol, anything like that. Also watching just like 106 in Park, watching music videos, BET, VH1, like documentaries. Like, I always loved that type of stuff. And let me tell y'all something, my bedroom was covered in posters from Word Up and Right On. I loved those posters. Like, when we would go to Kmart, I would cry if my granny wouldn't give me a magazine. For real. Like, and this was before we had phones, so like I don't have any pictures of that. Like, I had posters hanging from the ceiling, like billboard, like they were covered in posters. Like, I just love pop culture so much that I just always wanted to be like surrounded by it. In conjunction with wanting to always just be around pop culture, like, I just, any way I could express myself, I would. So like, I started like drawing and sketching. And I don't know if a lot of people know that about me, but I actually, one of the first things I did that I loved as a child was drawing. And I still have those sketches to this day. Like, I remember being young, and I would just be drawing in class, and like something told me to preserve these things. So like, I still got the binders with the plastic sleeves. Like, I literally still have sketches all the way back to like 2005, 2004. It's just those little voices on my journey telling me like these things. And cause deep down inside, that I knew they would mean something one day. And then I started loving fashion. Another one of those shows I spoke of that I used to watch was America's Next Top Model. So fashion was, like, I would say, was my first dream. That was like the first thing I said, like, I want to be a fashion designer. So like, I would just always be sketching, and I still have those sketches to this day. Like, oh my God, like, I used to go on different websites and like mimic the mannequins and redraw the models and like come up with my own way to illustrate and or just redesign like the different stuff that I seen. And I literally, anytime I would be drawing, like in between homework. I remember in the morning before class started, I would be on like the little heater just drawing on top, with the sun ray coming through the door. It was, life was always a movie, you know? I'm on the heater, the lights coming through. It's just shining on the paper as I'm drawing. So, just different intuitions throughout life. I was getting so good in art class that like my teachers, you know, um, got me scholarships to go to the art museum, the Toledo Art Museum, and to take classes. And it's just stuff like that was just such a blessing when I look back at a young age to be able to um get classes like that to expand like my creativity. So learning different drawing techniques, drawing with different mediums and different stuff, like that was just such a cool thing to look back and just remember that, I had that people seen my light and my talent even back then. And with, especially in a small city like Toledo, where it's not much opportunity. You really have to make your way, out of there, or even make your way while you're there. And so, you know being young again, just I was always inspired by so many different things, and like I carried that on into like junior high, and I would say like around 2005 is when I really started wanting to dance. And one of the things that made it click. Now I told y'all I already loved entertainment. So when I was watching 106 in Park, I used to be inspired by like Aaliyah, Little Kim, Missy, Busta Rhymes. I mean, all the greats you can name. But I just specifically remember in my childhood, like Aaliyah was my first. I would even say Aaliyah and TLC. Like those were two people like I initially loved. Like I still have those CDs in my like little CD booklet. Growing up watching those music videos, I always loved, the idea of dancing. Like when I was going to the YMCA, we would have like dance battles and talent shows and stuff like that. And I remember it just hit me. Oh my God. I had to be in like, I don't know if I was in kindergarten or first grade. It might have been first grade actually. This is when my granny, I think my granny adopted me and my brothers first. And we actually used to stay behind the YMCA. And I remember they had a talent show. And I remember I was the only boy I think that danced with and it was this girl. And I remember I was up there. I was up there like popping and doing them little ghetto them dances. And of course, being young, it's like I know what that probably looked like to people like, oh, this little boy gonna be gay. You know what I'm saying? But as I'm looking back, I remember I didn't care. I feel like I've always been in tune with my soul, like and my who I am. Like even that young, because I didn't care. I wanted to dance. So what people thought, I didn't care. I remember I was excited to run home and put my outfit on, and I don't know why I vaguely remember the outfit. I feel like it was some little blue jean shorts with a uh, a white shirt that had a strip of checker print right here. I don't know why. I feel like that's what it was. But I was excited to get dressed and go dance, which is so funny because that's just like still to this day, that's what I love to do. I can't wait to put a look on and go dance and do what I do. So one Christmas it all clicked. Now I told y'all I would ask my granny for like CDs, DVDs, markers, paper, crayons, pencils, anything to be creative and just to again be just engulfed in like entertainment. So one Christmas, I did not ask for these movies specifically, but she got me You Got Served and Honey. And when I tell y'all that was the day it all clicked, like all the love I had for entertainment and everything just clicked like that really let me know like I wanted to be a entertainer. Like that lit such a fire in me. Like I loved everything about those movies and I used to watch them like 10 times a day. Like I'm not even playing. Like I would watch them. I would take them to my uncle's house, watch them over there. Like I would take these DVDs with me everywhere and watch them because they inspired me that much. And so soon as I could, I got on any dance teams and drill teams, anything in the city that I could to express myself and start like just acting upon this love of dance. So like my first thing I did was got on the hottest drill team in the city, which was JJ Express. I used to love being a part of this drill team. Like I kid you not, I used to love going to rehearsal. When like back then we didn't have phones, so if rehearsal was canceled, you didn't find out till you got to rehearsal and it was rehearsal closed, like rehearsal canceled on the door. I'm just like, God. And I used to have to walk to rehearsal. And I used to love walking to rehearsal. Like again, just being excited, like being so excited to be there and go. I didn't care how I needed to get there. Again, it taught me so much about just determination. I remember like, back then, our director, Miss Trezan, rest in peace, she was like that tough auntie. Like she gave you that tough love. Like, she'll give you that look like you better quit playing, but it wasn't in a way to bring you down. It was like it inspired you to want to be better. Like because when you did great, she also let you know, and you know you made her proud. So after doing JJ Express for a couple years, now I'm going into high school. So now, of course, me being me and just being attracted to entertainment, now I'm introduced to the marching band. So love the marching band. I mean, we seen Drumline, right? You know, classic, yes. So being a part of JJ Express and seeing movies like Drumline and knowing like, you know, the historical black colleges and like that essence of like the marching band, you know, I did audition and I was a drum major. Um and I got lucky. Usually you have to play an instrument first before you can just, you know, be a drum major, but I think we were more concerned with the dancing, you know, then so then I got on the high school dance team, and this is just this was just such a fun time of my life. Now this is the era of like America's Best Dance Crew, Little Mama, Sierra, you know, Step Up, all like the, you know, dance. So you think you can dance? Yes, I did think so. I did think so, you know, because they do take nerve, like RuPaul said. So the dance team was so fun because, again, this is around the time when dance was, I just feel like it was at its peak. It was everywhere, dance teams everywhere, like local dance teams, competitions everywhere. So being a part of the Sky High School dance team really opened my mind up to what's next because we had this choreographer named Adrian. We called him ATL. He was from Toledo, but I think he moved to Atlanta or something and was working with I know he's working with like Jungle Boogie Crew or something like that. So at the time, you know, this is like when YouTube kind of first really start getting like popular and stuff like that. So like he exposed us to so much in like the professional world. Like I start learning about like what Dance 411 was, what who Sean Bankhead was, who Kiki Eli, like Cody Wiggins and like different choreographers back then and like um he was our choreographer and like this was amazing because most dance teams, you know, the dancers just get together and we make up our own dances, or you would have like a lead, but this is somebody who was going back and forth, you know, between Atlanta in Ohio and giving us some like real training. So baby, we was at these, you know, we were at these basketball games really killing it. And this was special too because I never took dance classes growing up. Like my dance classes was practice. My classes were rehearsals. You know, that's where I learned and performances, you know, and you were as good as your last performance. So you studied what you did and you got better and you got better. And I guess that's why to this day I perform with so much feeling because back then it wasn't really mirrors. Like when I was on the dance teams, we didn't have mirrors. So you had no choice but to feel what you were doing and if it was good and how people seen it. So you knew when people was looking at you like, yo, he's killing it, like you knew you was killing it. You know, you was doing something right. That was your mirror, you know, was the people you were performing for. And so um you know, Adrian was just again, he was just like a blessing. Like as I look back, that was just really special. Again, being exposed at a young age, like being like, so I think I was a freshman in high school. So again, being exposed to these different people, again, seeing what's out there. Now my mind, even that young, is being like, okay, Atlanta, okay, New York. Now I'm on YouTube researching all of this shit, different watching their class videos, watching their concept videos, and just, you know, again, knowing what was out there was very inspiring. So in conjunction with being on the band and being on the dance team, now I'm getting exposed to all these other teams. Like there's tons of competitions around the city. And there was this one dance team, the House of Adonis. Adrian had a connection to them. So like I told him like I want to be a part of the House of Adonis. And now we get into the You Got Served and the Honey, you know, energy, right? So this was fun because this truly started me on the journey of like, you know, just the entertainment path for real. Like the training I got from being a part of this dance team was such a blessing. One of the things I loved about being a part of this dance team is we were like, we had this thing where at the end of each rehearsal, everybody had to sit on the front of the mirror and you had to freestyle one by one. Sometimes you didn't even know what song they was gonna put on. Being put on the spot like that and everybody looking at you, it was like, what am I gonna do now? You know, like what is going? She doing a pirouette, he pop locking, she break dancing, they hitting splits and back bends. So it's like, you know, you like it forced you to be creative, and it forced you to be creative and think on the spot. That's why, like, to this day, right now, I'm never scared to perform at the drop of a dime if I need to, because like that's how I was trained. I was trained to like, and that was part of our show. Like after we, at the end of every performance, we had a freestyle section. So everybody in the performance, we would go to the back. You go one by one. So you know, you're thinking like, what am I going to do to stand out? And so I remember this is where my first performance with them. This is when I hit my first death drop. Now, it's it, it's now it is called a dip. Well, it depends on what in what context you're talking about. I would say this was a death drop, because let me tell you, back then I didn't know the proper way to catch yourself and all that. So I remember like I don't know where I seen somebody do that at, but during my freestyle at the end, baby, I bent that leg back and did that death drop, and I landed right on my head. And I remember my head hurt so bad, but the crowd went wild. Insert football. Cheers right here. The crowd went wild. The crowd went crazy, and it's just like, you know, it's funny, you know, to this day I still do that in the club or something like that. And it's like, so it's almost like a callback to like my inner child. You know, it's just so many ways I'm still connected to my inner child. So being a part of the House of Adonis was so special because being a teenager, again, I traveled a little bit with JJ Express, but being a part of the House of Adonis, I got to travel even more and expand that even more. And one of the biggest highlights about being on this team was when we went to New York. First of all, going to New York for the first time as a teenager was just mind blowing. Like, this truly woke something up in me. When we came out of that Holland Tunnel and I seen that skyline, it was literally surreal. Like, it was surreal and it was game changing for me. And the first thing we did when we were there were we were there for 106 in Park Wild Out Wednesday. And if you was on a dance team back then, you know everybody was did Wild Out Wednesday. We did Wild Out Wednesday, and we also did World of Dance. Y'all hear me speak a lot about like the hustle and the bustle and like how I didn't have to do this and that. And a lot of that just ingrained in me from even being a part of this dance team. Like when we went and we did the Apollo, we got in our girl Spider car. If y'all, Spider was like the captain of the team, like the lead choreographer. And back then she had this like white Escalade. We hopped in this Escalade, went to New York, and baby, we didn't even get no hotel. We parked right on 125th Street, right there by the McDonald's. And we got dressed in the car. Just speaking about determination or whatever, like you got to make it happen. We used to get dressed wherever we did, like bathrooms, cars, whatever, just to, you know, be ready. You know what I'm saying? After that, we would go to like back and forth to Atlanta, and we were doing like the convention. So like the ATLA conventions. Like I went to like the first three that they had. That was fun because like again, one of the best ways to learn is to see other people, and especially people training on another level. You think you doing something full out, you think you dressing, you think you doing until you see somebody else doing it. So coming to Atlanta, I'm like, dang, I could go that low. I could dress, I could exaggerate my look like that. Like, dang, I didn't even think to shave my head like that. You know, damn, I didn't even think I thought I was, dancing hard, but I could go harder, This was so eye-opening in so many ways as a teenager getting this experience. And it just taught me so much and put me on the path to who I am and where I wanted to go. Like by the time I was 18, I just already knew I wanted to, you know, leave Toledo and go, and like my dreams were just big by the time I was 18. After being on that team for a few years, I wanted to start my own dance team. So I started my own dance team with a few girls from high school, and it was called Legally Talented Dance Crew. So again, you're gonna see some clips popping up right about now. So aside from the dance teams, I also made sure while I was in high school to stay productive as possible. So I was like on the drama club, I did the plays, I did stuff like that, I did the talent shows, and like, speaking back on what I told y'all earlier about, my love for fashion, for my senior year, I actually did two talents. I showed my fashion, so I did a fashion show and I did a dance performance, and y'all see those clips right here. Yeah. So yeah, so like I've just always been a visionary. Like my dreams were big. By the time I was a senior in high school, I had big, big dreams. Like, this is just years of again traveling and just seeing what was out there, being on YouTube, seeing what was out there, just different stuff. And, you know, my ideas were so big, I knew eventually that I would have to get out of Toledo, into a bigger city, just to expand upon like the visions that I had. After high school, a lot of people don't know this. I actually moved to Atlanta for like 2 weeks. I was 18. I had some friends out there that was like, "Hey, what you doing? You graduated now, you wanna come out here?" So I gave it a try, crashed at their place, but I wasn't quite ready. I wasn't quite ready. So I came back home. But for 2 years while I was home, this was such a pivotal point of my life. Like this was like, okay, I'm not in high school anymore. Now I can really be who I want to be. Now I can, and what does that look like, and how am I going to pursue that? So this was really like a incubation stage of just like, just writing, planning, dreaming. I mean, I would be on YouTube so much, watching interviews, watching artists. Like this around the time Azealia Banks was getting hot, Sheree J. This is around the time I had already discovered Jonte, but like Jonte, just leaning more into him. Um, you know, um, who else? Nicki Minaj was big at this time. Gaga, Beyonce, of course, was still big at that time. And I'm always inspired by everybody. I take a little piece of inspiration from everything and everyone, but these are some of the like biggest people at that time that was inspiring me. And like, being on YouTube was a blessing. I would be up to 5 in the like sometimes my granny would be she would go to sleep and wake up for work and I'm still up on the computer because like during this time it's also when I start realizing like I love music and like playing with the idea of writing. So like now I started writing raps. I knew I loved dance, but I feel like I was just missing something that I wasn't getting from performers that was out. So that's when I start cooking up this idea of being a rapper. And with the vision of how I to see myself and like my style, I just felt like, oh my God, like I cannot see it not working. Like, I think this is gonna be so dope, just thinking of my name and just trying to hone in on my style. And that's when I like was doing research and that's when I came up with the whole androgynous thing because like I was looking up different definitions of like just different things. I don't know what even prompted me to get to that. But when I read the definition of androgynous, I'm like, this is literally who I am. This is what I feel like. Like somebody who displays both feminine and masculine characteristics. I'm like, this is literally who I am. And so like after that, that's when I just start coming up and brainstorming with like what my image was and like how I wanted to present it. And this is still in Toledo. So like I'm in Toledo trying to figure out how am I going to get out of here? Like I am ready to burst out into the big world, and start really making this happen. So it was a lot of long, long nights. And in this time, I was still being active. I was still doing fashion shows. I was still doing hair shows. Um, some I even competed in. I've won first place before in a hair show. Shout out to Mama Coffee. She had the biggest hair shows in Toledo back then. I had to give a huge shout out to Harriet, Tamiko, Brenda, Viv. I mean, if I'm forgetting anybody, forgive me, but like Laura Poon, like so many hairstylists that I was around during this time who were amazing during this time. Really like I learned so much about like doing hair and doing makeup and stuff like that, and even doing it to a fantasy point. You know what I mean? Like when y'all see me wearing like my mohawk or whatever, that was like one of my first signature looks that I did way back then. Like, and I learned all of that from being in these hair shows. Like I learned so much. Like, and that was just again such when we talk about seeing stuff that forces you to think bigger, this was important for me as a teenager. Also during this time, now I did say I wasn't working, but I did do a lot of freelance designing. I was doing stuff for like people's proms and um pageants and different stuff like that. So I was still getting my feet wet and designing in that way. So still was designing and stuff like that. And, still staying creative and, still performing, and I'm doing photo shoots and, still to express myself. So, and build my portfolio up. So still doing photo shoots with my boy, Michael Wood, my bro, who did like who's one of the best photographers, if not the best, in Toledo. Amazing work. Like, I have some amazing shots from just like from that time, us just creating, just and collabing. And I finally figured out a way to get out of Toledo, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go to school. So it clicked one day. I'm like, that'll be a perfect way so my granny would feel comfortable with me going to a big city. Okay, you're going away to school. So um I finally got lucky and I applied for the Art Institute of Atlanta, Decatur. It's not there anymore, but I got accepted to that, and that was my way to Atlanta. And oh my God, like, I could not wait to get to Atlanta. I could not wait. I was overly ready. I really wanted to go to New York, but New York, the cards didn't play right. Like, the school there just didn't have student housing, and it just wasn't going to work out like for a comfortable transition at the time. So the Art Institute, being there was so dope. Like, I'm being able to just fully dress. Like, even in Toledo, I was dressing like how I wanted to. But in Atlanta, I'm like, oh, I'm about to really do it. Every day I was coming out the house slayed. I'm like, the world is my runway. I met so many cool people, going to school. Again, competed in the talent show there. It was so fun. I met so many creators that I'm still cool with to this day that I worked with, in whether I dance with them or they're designers and I work with them in that way. And some that are still friends, to this day. So this is around like 2013 now. So I'm in Atlanta. I'm still pursuing dance. At this point, I already, like, one thing about me, people never really had to tell me to go out and look for stuff and get it. Like, I was researching the who's is who's, the where's is what, like where to go, the spots. And so, like, when I came to Atlanta, I already knew some of the places I wanted to go. I already knew some of the stuff I wanted to pursue. And so, like, one of those things were like Mad Expressions. It was this big dance showcase that choreographers got to do. You submit it and you get your dancers and you get to present what you want to present. And so, with that being said, I figured out I actually performed there with someone first, and then that was like my way in to kind of get in and network a little bit and get my feet wet. So then I submitted for the next one, and that was, that was like my like Atlanta debut for real.
Yo, now this is the one choreographer your girl does not know. And check him out. You know he's interesting, so I had to pull him and find out what's going on. Can you let the audience know what your name is?
Yes, my name is Montre. That's Montre. You gotta accentuate the E. Sometimes, like Beyonce, it's Montre.
Make sure y'all got that, okay? Yes, so Montre, give us a little background about your dance history.
Absolutely. Well, I've been dancing since like the 8th grade, so about 13, 14. It was a drill team back home that I fell in love with. They would like practice outside my window and stuff like that. So like I just gained this interest in dance. And one Christmas, my grandmother, like, for some reason, she brought me You Got Served and Honey. That's what year it came out on DVD. I did not ask for it, and like I could not stop watching it. So it just woke up this dancer in me, and like ever since I just been dancing, So I'm from Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, born and raised, and I moved to Atlanta a year ago because do different performances. I came down to the city and did a little networking, and so I was kind of familiar with it. So this was just the next step for me, and more opportunity. I did all I could back home, so I'm just trying to do bigger and better.
Nice, that's what's up. Now, can you give us some inspiration for your piece tonight?
Oh wow, yes. So if you're not familiar with it, my piece is kind of inspired from a documentary that came out in the 1990s called Paris is Burning. and it's about it just documents like the beginning of the ballroom scene, which started in Harlem with blacks and Latinas. It was just a place where people of the LGBT community could come and feel like something. So that's where the Vogue and the runway started at. So at the beginning of my piece, you guys will see that it's actually one of the ladies from there. Her name is Octavia Saint Laurent, and that's just my inspiration. They are very dear to my heart, and if you get a chance, you should check that out.
So, yo, your style is crazy. Can you give us the inspiration on the look?
Oh, absolutely. Well, actually, this little mohawk thing I have cooking, this is something we made up back home from Toledo. I did hair shows and stuff like that, so we just kind of like came up with this. It was always one of my signature looks and stuff like that, and I always try to do a different look every time. Like, I'm starting to get known for the one, oh, you're the one with the crazy hair, because you got to stand out, So, yeah, that, and I'm a vintage person all day. My spirit is 1980s. Like, I love all the decades, but the 80s, that Studio 54, like, and you'll definitely see it tonight, the sequence and the shoulder pads and the hair and just, so, yeah, I love anything vintage, and Tokyo street fashion is also one of my things. And just always standing out. I love to, like, not follow trends.
I'm doing as many dance showcases as I can, dancing, whether I'm dancing in them, choreographing, I'm networking with people at these events. I start doing like dancing in people concept videos. So, just anything I can to be creative or whatever, going out, hitting the club, networking in that way, like showing out at the clubs, like just living and being in the city. And it was just such a great time back then. And I still pursue dance, and stuff like that. But after a while, I just start realizing like who I am as an artist. Like, I just can't fit in this one scope, like even with dancing, I do love dancing, I love performing, but it's like I don't want to water down my style. I don't want to, like, because part of me expressing and me performing and loving what I do is because I get to express it like this, in all of me. So this is when, like, I told y'all, I was loving music and stuff. And at this point, I'm still writing. Like, I still hadn't told many people that I wanted to do music because I just felt like me telling somebody, like, oh, I want to rap, and then, back then, right now, there's a lot of LGBT rappers, you know what I'm saying? But I think back then, the only ones that I knew, I heard of Cakes the Killer, and I had heard of Mickey Blanco. And I knew people like Jonte, which I want to go on record to say Jonte Moaning is probably my biggest inspiration when it comes to me being Montre. And like, when it comes to my style and the world I live in, like when I used to be on them YouTube like binges, like I remember seeing Jonte do this infamous performance he did called Makeup that he would like do in the clubs, like all over New York and stuff like that. And when I tell y'all, seeing somebody black like that, queer from the hood, but still androgynous, flamboyant, I'm like, this is like, wow, I'm not crazy. Like, this is what I've been feeling. Like, I'm seeing somebody that looks like what I feel like, like he was, he still had that street edge, but it was Tokyo, it was street fashion, it was New York, it was nightlife, it was ballroom, it was all of that. It was sequins, shoulder pads, and like he was a beast. So like I just have to go on record and say I have many inspirations, but as an adult and finding who I am and my voice, Jonte Moaning is and was one of my biggest inspirations. And I just had to give him his flowers for that. So at this point, I really haven't told anybody that I want to do music. It was kind of like a little secret of mine. I was really writing. I only told a couple of friends. So I just felt like me saying I wanted to rap, I was going to have to show them more than, because like with my style, I just feel like people was going to be like, you want to rap? And I even got that a couple of times, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right, I ain't going to tell y'all nothing. Y'all just see it. You know what I'm saying? I had already seen the vision back then. So at these showcases, I start, when I would choreograph them, I start splitting them, and I would do half choreography, that I did with the dancers, and then I would come out and do my music. So I start splitting it. So now I'm introducing people to me as an artist. And back then, I've never had no manager, no booking agents, no nothing. This is everything that I've achieved has been off sheer determination, passion, just going forward, networking, people reaching out, and just persistence. And, even with the music, I didn't have no guide, and I was coming up on the cusp of social media just starting. So, like, when I moved to Atlanta, it was 2013. Instagram had just started. So it took a few years before it came about the numbers and insights and all of the influencer and what like the business of Instagram. So, it was a lot of trial and error. I felt like I came up at a time where it's like I was just going, giving it my all and maybe making a lot of mistakes because I didn't know no better and there weren't a lot of examples for me to follow. So I was just going and performing wherever I could in front of any crowd, gay, straight, black, white, it didn't matter. Like, you know, festivals, clubs, whatever, anywhere I could perform. And I'm just started making a name for myself. I'm making a name for myself in any way that I could. And, it has paid off throughout the years in so many ways. Like I've got to work with so many people, that I looked up to. This journey has been so magical. And it's like, this is why it's so hard for me. Like, if I'm down to nothing, these memories alone, you know, um, just keep me so grateful because it's like as I'm pursuing this, when they say you're meant to do something, like the universe will make a way. Like when I start pursuing my music, the first job I had in Atlanta was Plato's Closet. Just my luck, while I'm working there, one of my coworkers was an engineer. And he said he lived right across the street. So literally after work, I could just walk over and start going to the studio. So oh my God, now I'm finally being able to start doing my music and stuff. And at this point I had, dropped out of college or whatever because, again, the Art Institute served its purpose. I wanted to get to Atlanta and I got there. I had good intentions, but and I learned a lot, but again, I wanted to be out in the streets, like hustling, networking, getting to it, getting straight to it, and doing so, the universe just started working for me in like mysterious ways. Like I started meeting the people that I was looking up to, that was inspiring me. I met Sharaya J. I was living at the Darlington. Shout out to the Darlington. Oh my God. I'm sure all artists lived there at one point back in the 2014 era. Like the rent was $600. It was on Peachtree. It was, oh my God. So that was my first apartment on my own. And I remember one day my best friend called me and was like, Sharaya gonna be at Sweet Lounge tonight. So I was broke. I ain't had no money. I hurried up and went home and put some on and got there. And again, back to what I said earlier, it don't matter how I needed to get there, I got there. Like there's been so many sacrifices. Like I was never worried about comfort. I just needed to get there. Like that's what mattered the most. I didn't even see obstacles. It was like, oh, she coming tonight? Oh, okay, I'm gonna make a way. So like I'm pretty sure I caught the bus and the train. We got there, walked to the gas station, got a lime marita, came back, and got in free before 11 or whatever it is. And when I tell y'all, this night was such a pivotal night for me because this is around the time where I was still like dabbling in the dance and going, whatever, but not really doing my music full on. But that night, seeing her perform, literally, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Like, it was just a confirmation for me. Like, I really had tears in my eyes. Like, um, because it was just such a confirmation that I needed, and it was just so inspiring. Like she was like that was when Sharaya J was like killing it, and like everybody was like, what I'm saying, was like, on her, and not only did she inspire me in that way, we actually connected, and like, we end up like freestyle circles, and it was like a movie that night. It was like Fat Man Scoop, Crooklyn Clint. Like it was felt like the movie Honey. Like this literally feels like the stuff that I was seeing as a child. And um I remember that night, my friend who I came with, he ended up leaving early. So I was like, I'm staying the whole night. I don't know. I don't want to miss no opportunity to network and just literally just enjoy that moment. And y'all, I kid y'all not, I literally walked home from there, from Sweet Lounge. I remember it was probably a 45-minute walk. But just saying this to say about the determination, like you sometimes gotta risk it all, like just for a moment. You know what I mean? And I remember I didn't care how I had to get home. You know what I'm saying? I floated on a cloud home because I was on such a high off life and being inspired, and I just couldn't wait to get to the studio. And in 2 weeks after that, that's when I recorded my first song. And from that point on, like I just, kept pursuing, my music, and you know and it was no looking back after that. So after that, now I'm full on just pursuing my music. Like every other check, every other week, I am in the studio recording, writing, just like getting this music out. And again, I already had notebooks full of music at this point. So now I'm like, okay, I need to start shooting music videos. So now I'm starting to shoot my music videos. And once I seen my first music video, that made me so anxious to keep shooting music videos. Because once I seen how I looked on camera, I'm like, oh my God, like I love, not in a conceited, like in an artistic way, because you never know how you're gonna look on these good cameras. You know what I mean? You might think you cute when you get in these 4Ks and these, you know what I mean? It's like, you might be like, my head, why my head look like that? Why my skin look like, anything, so so I was like, oh, now I'm just like, and again, if y'all go and look at all my past videos, anything that you've seen, no handouts, no budgets, no nothing. This is me going to work, working at this Plato's Closet that I told y'all about, and just taking my money and investing it. Like, and this is before social media was still big. So I'm just out here shooting content, shooting music videos, literally because I just love to shoot it. It wasn't because I felt like the algorithms and how it is now, how it's like, oh, content creators. No, I was creating content before a content creator was a thing, because that was just the thing to do. Like I just wanted to keep building my portfolio, keep, building my art, keep, just getting my visions out. And I was doing all this on my own, with a 9 to 5 budget. Like people look at my stuff and would think like, you did all this working. Yeah, like, because when you have a vision and you know how something should look, it's really just about getting that vision out. It don't always take a lot of money. And I've just always been blessed to have people, like whether it was dancers or friends, who would just help me because they believed in me, and shooting these music videos, I'm talking about straight sacrifice, guerrilla style. We used to be going into these locations and just waiting for them to kick us out. Or sometimes I'd be like, hey, can I get this shot real quick? And sometimes they'd be like, just don't touch none, or just don't make that much noise. But I was all about get the shot first and ask questions later. You know what I mean? Because by the time they come to kick us out, I already got the shot. You know what I mean? So again, this is me just literally just creating my own world and living in it. And I've just always been blessed to, for it to work out, but it was not easy. When I tell you all this hustling, no car, MARTA, buses, trains, really not even Lyft back then, and all my music videos, I styled them. I got the props. I got the everything that you see. Like there was no team, and not saying this to say I didn't want a team, or it was just like, first of all, I know the type of passion that I have. I know nobody's gonna want it as much as you. You know what I'm saying? With your vision. You know what I'm saying? And two, the more you know how to do, the less you have to depend on people and stuff like that. And you know, the more hands in the pot, the more it can just stall everything, and it's just more energy to, just to interfere with it. So I'm like, how can we get it done? I just didn't know no other way, but I seen a vision, and this is how I can get it done. So I can remember going to Goodwills and getting props and carrying them on the train, not having no money to take it home on a lift, or being on a bus, stuff like that. Or I was always blessed to have good relationships with, my managers. They would let me pull clothes from the, for the shoot sometimes, for my music videos, and so, which was always a blessing. I always had support in these different ways, because through the years they just seen, how passionate I was and how creative I was, and they just, always supported me in that way. I could have easily been tired. Like I remember some of my music videos. I used to stay in Riverdale at one point, and I used to have to come all the way to the city to go to work or do anything. It used to take me like an hour and a half to get to work. And if you miss that bus, it's going to take another hour and a half for the bus to even come. So it was just like, you know, I used to be carrying my clothes for the music video all the way to the city on the bus. And I just didn't see it as an obstacle. I just wanted to get that vision out so bad. If that videographer said he could shoot this, I'm a handle the rest. If these dancers said they can come, this and that, I'm making it happen. So, all this was not in vain. As I'm steadily building my portfolio, once I would see that video or that next project, I'm like, that's all that mattered. I would walk home with smiles on my face. I would be broke with a smile on my face because at least I put it into something that will outlive me. And, I'm always thinking about the legacy and like, the bigger picture, like what this all going to mean when I'm long gone. I always stay connected to my dream through all of this. And that is why no matter what, I never veered off too much to another path because it's like that is my calling. That is what I was here to do. So it's just like to be connected this long and still be in tune with my soul and like who I knew I was as a child has been amazing. So it's like to keep getting these opportunities even now is amazing because nobody was telling me to go do this. This is coming from just I want to do this. I want to pursue it. I feel like this in me and just taking that first step and just staying on that road. And that's why one of my proudest moments as an independent artist was the ATL was Burning Ball. Let me tell y'all about this. This was one of the biggest events in the past 10 years in Atlanta, hands down. Anybody who was there knows this. At first, I went into this like I do everything. Okay, this is another opportunity for me to perform and do what I love. I wasn't really even understanding like the magnitude of what it was to come. I'm just thinking like I'm about to prepare like I do anything else. I'm gonna get some I got my dancers, my friends. We rehearsed for 2 weeks straight and we rehearsed down. And at the same time, I was preparing my next project, which was called Upfront. It was this early 2000s thing, and um, the lead single was 2002. Hey, this shit feel like 2002. Y'all already know. Montre, please believe. So, so the ATO and Burning Ball was a hybrid of a ball and a artist showcase. You literally had some of the best. This was also around the time when Pose was out, when Pose first came out and was big. So you had people from Pose that was there, some of the actors and actresses. Then you had some of the biggest ballroom people there. Andre Mizrahi, Leomi, like you had Precious was there commentating. Davali Severe was there. Like then on the artist side, you had Lekele 47, Cakes the Killer, like, and I just knew to prepare like I do everything else. Like let me say this, I did the choreography, styled everything, and I did my song 2002. It was not out yet. I just performed it because this was coming up. I was gonna let this like start the little rollout of the song. When I tell y'all when that song dropped, y'all seen the clip many a times, but I'm gonna play it for y'all one more time right now. Yeah. When that dropped, the crowd, this was at Georgia Fright Depot. It was sold out. This is my first sold out show. They went crazy. I did not expect, like, I just expected it to be like every other performance, and of course, it always cheers and screams, but this was just like a sold out event. So, like, when 2002 dropped, it went crazy. And it's just like, even in that moment, I'm just thinking like like my whole journey, everything was preparing me for even this moment, and we had an amazing performance and I got to network with so many people that was in the industry, like, that were like that was legendary, that were iconic. And it was just one of those examples of when you seize the moment and when preparation just meets opportunity. The next day, I get a DM from someone from Paper Magazine wanted to feature me in Paper Magazine and premiere my song 2002. So this was like surreal. And I remember when I first read that article and it went live, I was shaking. Like I couldn't even really get past the first few lines at first because it was a surreal moment. And when you work so hard for a long time, sometimes, sometimes I performed at crowds like I was performing for the Grammys with 10 people in there, with dancers sometimes or just by myself, but I always gave my all no matter what. So it just felt good that this one time, if it was never going to be another time, which I know it would be, but I knew like at this moment, if this was it, like I can say it was worth it. Like I feel like that article, he wrote that so perfectly and described me so well that it's just like I just literally cry. And I'm not even a person that really cries. Like I usually internalize things, but it's just like it just felt so good to know that all the hard work paid off. Hey y'all, it's your boy Montre. And oh my god, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm crying because I just got the link to my Paper Magazine article, and I'm just so happy because I've literally been in the house all day stressed because, as you know, as an artist, it's so hard, and I do everything on my own, and I mean everything. So it feels so good to know that it hasn't been in vain. So I just want to encourage everybody, especially all my independent artists who don't have nobody to help them or motivate them to keep going, because I know it's not easy, and I don't care how it look, it's never easy. I'm constantly struggling. Even to this day, I don't have no money. I put my money into everything that I do. So I don't want anyone to ever envy me or want my life, because I'm just an artist who loves what he do and love his craft. And that's why all I ever want to do is impress you with my art, not no lifestyle, because who knows, I'll never be rich. But I just want you to take my art and view it and just appreciate it, because I put everything into it. And when I'm gone, that's all I'll have. So I just want to say thank you so much to Justin at Paper Magazine for the article. I haven't even read it yet, but the whole thing, but I'm just, I'm so thankful. All right, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. I hope y'all enjoyed our article. Oh, and I just dropped my new song 2002. So read the article. It's so dope. I haven't even got to read the whole thing yet, but check it out, and I hope you love it. Bye, y'all. And I finally got my just due. A lot of times you'll work hard and it just felt not even like your hard work pays off, but it was people who was willing to give it to me fairly. Sometimes you can be that deserving, and you just don't be the right people in those places that want to give you what you deserve. So it just felt good that it was somebody with a good heart that seen me, that wanted to give me that. And I will never forget that moment. It was a beautiful article, got the premiere 2002, and I would say that literally catapulted me into like, no, I'm not just saying I'm doing this. Like, it's been stamped that he does this, and so it just made me think about when I said I first wanted to do music. And if that was 2018, I first started writing music in 2011. So not even too far, but it could have been far. Like, that's a long journey. I went through a lot in that time. I went through dropping out of college, being evicted, going back to school, dropping out, jobs, just roommates, living in the hood, the ghetto, just all type of stuff, like being broke so many times, going broke for my craft, it's so many times I could have been discouraged, tired, gave up, but I always found a reason to keep going, because I am just a creative. Like I live to create. And that was just another checkpoint in my life where I'm like, it was worth it. And the vision that I seen for myself when was in my granny house in the dark on YouTube, listening to instrumentals, writing stuff, that just stamped it that like I don't even have to keep pursuing it to say I can do it. I did it and I proved that I'm capable of doing that and that I did it. So I'm just now doing it again because I love it. I was always doing it because I love it, but now I'm just like, it's not for any validation, you know? And so that was just such a magical moment. And because, you know, I got to show people that you don't have to have no teams, you don't have to have no handouts, all this money. All if you go to work, put your money to your craft and stay focused, you can literally receive opportunities like this. This is, you know, like Paper Magazine. Paper Magazine is, you know, that's a very notable publication. This is some of the top artists are constantly gracing these covers. So I went on to be featured in there 3 times. I got to premiere my album up front on there. And I was in the 2019 like paper predictions of like 100 people taking over 2019 that literally had Tierra Whack on the list, the City Girls, like other people. So it's like sometimes I forget like some of the stuff I've done because you know, you be so caught up in survival mode. But I'm telling you, like, that's why my journey to me is so special for me because this is off pure a dream and literally pure determination and staying focused. Like, and I feel like I've always been connected when I look back on my life and I think of random times and intuitions. It was all because of this, of me becoming who I was, but I was always this. And that's the beauty of it. But it's just like going on the journey and unlocking it and fulfilling that purpose that was meant for me. After that, you know, I just kept on, you know, doing what I did, you know, kept performing. You know, I dropped the 2002 music video. It's just been fun with my art, being able to pay homage through the years. All the things that I love, the time periods, the pop culture, the music video is so dope. If you haven't seen it, go watch the 2002 music video. After that, I would say I started feeling a way and like I kind of want to take a break. And I think it was because it slowly started and I didn't realize this until just deep reflecting. I started realizing like I started getting overwhelmed and tired. Like I usually could go, but um I realized it was because after the ATL was burning ball, it put me in such a light that now people were looking at me kind of like a celebrity, and I never looked at myself as a celebrity. I just like, look, I'm somebody with a dream who's working hard, who has gifts, and I'm working towards it. And I just have been blessed with different platforms to show that. But I started feeling that pressure of like, oh my God, am I doing enough now? Like now that people are looking at me like this, am I maintaining it? Do I have an image now that I need to uphold? So now it's like, I never really got caught up in the social media thing, but now I am kind of letting it get to me a little bit where it was just like the expectations of certain things, like, you know, thinking like well, you was featured on Paper Magazine or you did this, why you ain't got this now? I slowly started wanting to take a break and kind of felt like I just wanted to retreat, which is important after like a journey like I had where I'm just constantly going. I think from when I was a teenager, I was always up until this point constantly going, like so wanting to what's next, what's new, dreaming, how, calculating how I can make it happen. But then the pandemic hit. So I'm like, see, I was saying I wanted to take a break and then the pandemic comes. So I got to reflect comfortably in peace, you know. So, you know, during this time, like it was kind of quiet. Like, you know, I was going to work. I'm kind of performing. I think I may have had a performance here or there, but it was just a lot of reflection, a lot of solitude. Um, I don't want to necessarily say depression, um, because once you get older, I know for me, depression I used to scream I was depressed. And maybe when I was in my earlier 20s, but when you get older and you have these different mental breakthroughs and you start looking at your problems as lessons and it's making you stronger, it's kind of hard to let it, for me now, to let it get that deep because it's like now I'm that much stronger because I went through it. So it won't happen again. After this time and, I'm questioning things. I'm questioning what do I want to do next and do I want to still do music? Do I want to give music up and just go back to being a choreographer and just hone in on that? I start feeling like I need to pick one thing now. Like, let me pick one thing and just stick to that, And so I was kind of feeling like I was done with music. I was feeling like, maybe do I want to pursue dance again? Do I want to not be am I over this style, this version of myself? Like, do I want to still wear makeup and dress how I dress? Like, do I want to just completely change who I am? And, just asking myself those hard questions. So after coming out of the pandemic and, you know, um, rediscovering myself, I knew that no matter what, I just needed to keep going. And like, I've always loved partying. I feel like going out is always an easy way just to feel good about yourself, an easy way to express yourself. You can go out, put on a cute outfit, dance, which I love to do, just with no strings attached. Like, just go dance. It's not an audition. It's not all this pressure. Like, I start seeing these parties called like Shaka Khan Hacienda. And so I'm like, what are these? So I start going to the parties and this is like again, I'm on like that reintroduction, rediscovering who I am. This was so fun. It was like it was like just a new energy that I hadn't been around. It was like, it was outside. It kind of gave festival vibes. It was just queer people. It was just like, just a fun energy and just start meeting all these new people and like, getting cool with like these just different people, a whole new generation of people. And some people I knew already, but a whole new community of people. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying with like, you know, I'm gonna just say this, going where you're celebrated and not tolerated. Like, I feel like for a long time on my journey, I was going the wrong, doing the right thing, but sometimes in the wrong places. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes ain't about being confident to go shut it down in front of these people. They still are not the people for you. They're not the people that are going to support you. So it's like now, as I'm going into this rediscovery, I'm going back into new places. It's like everything was aligning with who I truly am. How I mentioned earlier, where it's like not doing things, not presenting yourself a certain way to receive a certain thing. No, being who you are and receiving which is in alignment with who you truly are. And I feel like this is what this rediscovering was doing like after the pandemic. And so like falling in love with Drag Race, then starting to go to the Shaka Khan Hacienda. So then still going to the other, Club Morph and different parties. I started going to raves and started going to circuit parties. So like now I'm just like discovering these underworlds and these different groups of people who, I hadn't been around yet, you know what I'm saying? And so I started hosting parties. That was nothing that was necessarily on my list, but it just made sense because it's like I do go to the parties. I do be one of the life of the party. I do come to a party and make sure, I was there and make a scene and shut it down and come with a look and serve a look and serve and serve. You know? And so, and then even with that, it was like bigger and bigger events. It was going from clubs to then bigger parties at venues and then like the Shaka Khan Hacienda Festival with Honey Balenciaga and DJ Unique and just these different people. And it's just like even with that, like it has been a blessing to come into and to come into a community, and the community that's you know really like in alignment with who I am and supported me. And it's like to even see how like just coming to a party and making such an impact that I was able to even host that Shaka Khan Pride in the festival. That was another highlight of my life this far. Like standing in front of all those people and seeing like literally my community, and me hosting, it was just like such a full circle moment because sometimes when we go to these parties, people don't understand like how sometimes I needed those parties. I may have been depressed. I may have been uninspired. I may have been unmotivated, or lost or whatever. And just going back to these parties and just being reminded of who you are, because sometimes we forget that people can't see our struggles. Even when we're in survival mode, that don't mean that people are not looking at you as the artist and the energy and the what you represent, and it reminds you of why you're doing it, because you don't know who you're inspiring, who's watching you, and through all of this. And so to be able to even have that moment was just, out of something that I was just doing naturally, like just wanting to go to these parties and just be around good energy and just give good energy. And now I'm hosting these parties and kind of reestablishing myself as not just an entertainer, but like a socialite. I'm always still, being creative. I'm still, um, doing stuff, in my field, but I'm letting it come to me naturally and letting the universe send me what is in alignment with me, So it's like, even when I was questioning my music in the last couple years, all this questioning, all this stuff I went through, it always brings me back to why I do it. Every time I've went through a moment of reflection or solitude and I was questioning things, it made me just go back to the one thing, and that is doing it because I love it and because this is my purpose. And when I reflect and I look at what I've done and I go back and watch what I've done and the performances, the videos, the impact I've made on people, think about conversations I've had with people and the people I've touched and inspired. I'm like, I know if Montre, if I stop, nobody else is going to be able to give what I've been giving and what I'm meant to give. Like, I have to keep this journey. Like, this is what I've created. This isn't for no reason. I was meant to be exactly who I am. Ever since I was a teenager, how I mentioned in the beginning of this video, is like when I made those promises to myself, like, you will always be with you. People not gonna like you. People, they're gonna doubt you. They're gonna give up on you. They're gonna act funny. They're gonna, you know, do all these things to you, but you will always be with you. And you pouring into you will never be in vain. So it's like now, today in my life, I'm at a great place where I feel like I'm operating in a level where it's like I know who I am. I reestablish myself, like even in the shift that has happened, and I'm known in my communities. And it's like I've rebuilt and am building now in the communities where it's people who love all of me. You know what I mean? And like I can, whether I'm doing music, drag, dance, makeup, no make, whatever I want to do. And it has been such a blessing to like just be a part of a community. And because again, this is another thing that money can't buy. You can Everybody's purpose is different. And I know I have big stages that I'm still gonna, the Oscars, Grammys, Billboard Awards, Drag Race, all this stuff, bigger festivals, tours, all that. But no matter what, I have always made sure I did it for the people and to inspire. I never played the celebrity role. That's why to this day, I know that I can always come back and people still show me so much love and support because I was the person in the clubs who wouldn't mind stopping and talking to somebody for 5, 10 minutes in the club, hearing their story right when I get off stage, or people asking me for advice. I didn't care about giving it to them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like little stuff like that when you stop and you treat people like people, because I'm a human too. I'm not no celebrity. I'm just somebody who had a dream and pursued it and have been blessed to have these different opportunities. And I always wanted my story to reflect that, because there's more people out here that are trying to make it with nothing than there is that people who just have everything and it's perfect. And if I can be an inspiration to somebody to be like, if I just keep going, you know, if I just keep dream, I can hold on to my dream. I can stay connected to my inner child. And beautiful things will happen. I might not know what exactly it will be, but they will happen if you find your purpose and stay to that. So it's like, today, these days I'm steadily getting into my drag. I have performances coming up, so I'm also doing my music. I'm not abandoning my music, which I was questioning before. I am going to still do my music. Any message and download I get from the universe, I'm putting it out because it is literally meant to come through me in this way. And I'm the only one that will be able to produce it. Music, fashion, choreography, styling, hosting, I want to get into DJing. DJ Montre, they really ain't ready for that. So it's gonna be different things, like I'm just letting my gift just guide me and not create unnecessary stress because I'm trying to predict how it should be. It has been just a beautiful journey right now. I'm at a great place. I'm at peace, and I'm just excited to keep building upon my brand. I feel like I am like rebranding myself, and I feel like all that I went through, I'm at a place now where it's about to get bigger and better, and the things I went through was preparing me to mentally be able to receive it. I just wanted to create this documentary and this video to show people like, no, I'm not perfect. I'm not, I didn't just come on. Yes, I may come on the set and slay and this and that, but this the reason why you see so much slayage is because it's been that much darkness that I had to fight through and continue to fight through. I really haven't even spoke on all the mental stuff and the constant having to like sit with certain things and face certain truth. But I've always been a person who ran to the truth, because if you can find peace in the darkness, then then nothing can break you. If you can find peace in the darkness, at the bottom is nowhere to go but up. Stay tuned in with your journey and your purpose. And as you reflect back on your life, the universe has always been showing you signs. It has always been showing you signs, and you might not get it to the end, and it'll just flash like a movie and reconnect like, oh my God, it all makes sense. So, I wanted to create this just like the people before me that created these amazing documentaries like the Paris is Burnings and the stuff like that that changed my life. I wanted this to be a nugget for anybody coming up. You will be discouraged. There will be people who, um not support you. You know what I'm saying? But it's important to keep going and remember why you started and why you're doing it. So that is the song you skipped. Yay! Yes. Matter of fact, is it still recording? Okay, hold on. Let's say this one thing. And the reason why I named this project "The Song You Skipped" is because just like that album that you may have bought 20 years ago, and you only listened to the first hit songs because that was the popular thing, that was the one everybody was talking about. But then, as you get older, you go back and you sit and you just go through the album one by one and you discover this song. You be like, oh my God. Like, this is my favorite song. Like, I love this song. I feel like that is like my story. Like, sometimes I was so different, or sometimes I was, too much for people, or too intimidating, or, maybe other people weren't ready to receive who I was, or, they were waiting for society to make it normal to accept somebody like me. You come back and you realize, and some people may not realize, may realize this 20 years later from now, or 100 years when I'm long gone, they're gonna be like, oh my God, I was so busy focused on what was popular, this and that, when all this time it was you. You were the chosen one. Yes, I was the song you skipped. Period. And that's a wrap.